Hey you all, I'm so hi to fellow dressmakers. You're welcome to another interesting tutorial. My name is Confidence. In this video, I'll be showing you how to make this gorgeous style. As you can see in the video, it's a very simple tutorial and it's going to be very detailed. So it's going to be both the cutting and the stitching in one video. Kindly watch this video to the very end to see the simplest way of making this style.
Hello, you don't even know my name, but I am happy you came by.
These are the materials I'll be using for this tutorial. I have my Ankara fabric, I have this chantilly lace, and I have this doll face here for the design at the front. And I will be using this yellow lining too for the design at the front. And then I have my black lining. The yardage for each of these materials depends on who you're working with. Now let's go ahead and start this tutorial proper. So here I have my Armhole Princess Bustier already drafted out, and this is the updated method of Armhole Princess Bustier. You can see that there is no tightening on the armhole part, it comes from the shoulder. The video link will be in the description box. Make sure you check it out in case you haven't done so. For the neckline, I used 4 inches by 3.5, and the next thing I'm going to do is to start from that neckline depth and go down to how long I want the yoke to be, and I'm measuring 5.5 there. You can also start from the shoulder to measure down where you want the yoke to stop, and then you're going to come to the armhole part and measure where you also want it to be on that part. So for me, I want it to just stop on that part where the armhole princess line starts. Okay, go ahead and do whatever you want to do on that point, but make sure it's giving you that round shape. And that's what I'm trying to make sure I have here. And that's it for the front pattern. And for the back, it's just basically this the regular way you do your back pattern. There's nothing there. I don't have any dart, and there's no yoke at the back. So I'm just going to separate the pattern so that we can work proper on the front. The next thing I'm going to do now is to close the bust dart. I already slashed the dart line to the bust point so that I can be able to close it. And I'm going to fold it from the down and place it on the bust point line, just as you can see me do it here. Then I'll tape it down with my tape. After that, I'm going to blend in the side seam line like so, and then I'll go ahead and cut out the pattern. I'll first cut the center front like this, and depending on your size or the measurement you use for yours, it might not look like this my own here. The first one I made for this style is not looking like this, this pointy on that armhole part. So depending on who you're working with and the size you're working with, it might not look the same. So don't beat yourself in case you're done with your pattern and it's not looking like mine. So after that, this is what it looks like. We have the yoke, we have the center front, and then we have the side front. Now for the back, you can see that the length is actually shorter by 1.5, which we used for the bust dart for the front. Aside that, like I said before, I don't have any darts on the back pattern, and I'm not saying that it's bad for you to add your darts. And there is no also yoke. I just go ahead and cut out what I have here. This is me cross-checking the pattern after cutting it out. And you should do the same thing too. Always cross-check your pattern before transferring to the fabric. Now we'll keep the patterns aside and then we'll work on the down part. So here I'm going to fold this Ankara fabric now in a way that to contain my measurement for the front skirt. So my fabric is folded here, and if you want to know what to use to fold your fabric, you're going to divide your hip measurement by 4 plus your desired allowance, then plus at least 3 inches. Anything between 3 inches to 6 inches is fine. And for the length, I'm going to use the whole length I have here, which is 45 inches. But if yours is longer than 45, you're going to fold it the other way and not this way that I folded it. I hope you understand. But the truth is, the longer it is, the finer it is. So you should actually make sure that it's floor length. But I'm working with the measurements I have for this person. So I'll start from the top and go down to the hip line and to the knee line. That way I have the waistline, the hip line, and the knee line. The next thing I'm going to do is to take the waist measurement divided by 4 plus extra 2 inches allowance. I'll go to the hip line and do the same thing. The hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches allowance. Then I'm going to minus 2 inches from what I have on the hip line. You can just minus 1.5 if you want. Then I'm going to connect it like so. Do well to add your darts and add the dart allowance too. Now I'm going to measure what I have on the hip line and do that same thing on the hem like this. Then I'm going to add extra 6 inches because that's how wide I want it to be. But like I said before, anything between 3 to 6 is fine. You can just do 3 inches if you just want it moderate as it is on the thumbnail, but I'm doing 6 inches. Then I'm going to come up here by 1.5 just so that part is not that pointy. Then I'm going to blend it in to the center part like so. After that, I'll go ahead. Then I went ahead to fold another fabric like this and place the front pattern on it. You can see how wide the back pattern is. This is totally optional just because I don't want the center back to be straight like that. That's why I added extra 7 inches on this center part. Next thing I'm going to do is to measure. You see the front pattern, I'm measuring on that pattern. I'm going down to the knee line and I will mark it here. Then I will mark the hip line too. Then on the waistline, I'm going to come in by 1 inch zipper allowance. On the hip line, I'm going to come in by 1.5. Then on the knee, I'm going to just mark ½ inch. Ignore anyhow you see me placing the tape. I'm just trying to be accurate with the measurement. ½ inch on the knee part, 1.5 on the hip part, and then 1 inch on the waistline. And that will serve as my zipper allowance. Now I'll go ahead and connect from that ½ inch on the knee part and just slant it like this to the hem part. Just go ahead and give it this shape here. Can you see that? Then I'll just go ahead and cut it out. And right after cutting, this is what I have. Can you see that shape? So go ahead and keep the back pattern aside and work on the front. And now to complete the front, I'm going to come up here by 2.5. If yours is long enough, floor length, you're going to come up here by 4 inches. But if it's not that long, you're just your normal length, ankle length, you're just going to come up here by 2.5 because you don't want it to be looking funny if it's not that long enough. If it's long enough, come up here 4 inches. But if it's just your ankle length, the gown is just on your ankle length, just come up here by 2.5. Then you're going to give it this sweetheart shape like this and cut it out. Then we go back to the upper part. So I went ahead to pin down the patterns on the fabric. My fabric is folded. Then I will extend the armhole line and then the waistline. First, I'll measure what I have on the paper and make sure I have the same thing on the fabric. And I have some shortage, so I extended the line the right way. Then I'm going to add my allowance of 2 inches and connect it like so. Every other part will just be ½ inch joining allowance except the side which we have 2 inches allowance. And after cutting the front pattern, I'll just use the same method to cut the back pattern. Now after that, we'll go ahead and cut the yoke. And for the yoke, I made sure that I place the pattern the side going to the stretchy part of the fabric. Then I'm just going to cut ½ inch joining allowance on this part. Then on the armhole part, I'm not adding any allowance. I will add ½ inch on the neckline and also on the shoulder like that. Then after this, I'm just going to go ahead and use a into net like this to cut out for the support for the chantilly lace. That's a better way to support your lace. You can use the same color, black, but just to have that neat work, you're going to use something like this to support the lace, especially if you're using it for yoke. You use a sheer fabric to support a sheer fabric to get a very neat result. So I'm going to place it like this, making sure that it's just the same way I cut out the chantilly lace, the part, the stretchy part going to the armhole part like that. Now after cutting, this next part is very important. You're going to hold down the pattern like that. Make sure it's not shifting. You hold it very tight. Then you're going to take out the excess just the same way I'm doing it. This is very important so that the skin tone net won't be, excess inside the chantilly lace. It to just be perfect. Give it that skin feel or that skin look. You don't want to the skin net to be excess. You want to take out all the excess. Since it's stretchy too, you're going to make sure it's equal. Instead of it being excess, let it even be shorter or smaller than your actual fashion fabric, the one you're using it for support. You're just going to turn it on the neckline, iron it, and top stitch round the other part. So far this is all that we have. I want her to cut the lining for all of the pieces. Okay, the one that needs lining, this is the front part, and after cutting the lining I trimmed away half inch on the hem part. I did the same thing for the back part, and then for the half length I'm using doll face because I don't feel like pressing any interface today. Then this is the yoke, and then the Ankara. I want her to press wording, one layer of wording. There is no interface, like I said. I don't feel like adding any interface today. Then just because I want to just give the bust area some structure, I also went ahead to press wording on the lining too. There is no interface in any of this. So what I'm going to do next is to go ahead and join this. Make sure you match up the under bust, and then you're going to just follow the curve that you have there and join it. Do the same thing for this other side and for the lining too. Just make sure that you're matching up the under bust. And after that, I also went ahead to iron it, press open the seam like this. And this is also to remind you that your bustier just need the right contouring for it to cup so well. The next thing I'll do now is to trim off this excess allowance on the bust area, just like this. Just go ahead and trim it off. Do not trim too much, but just trim off the right amount of allowance there and leave the right amount there too. Do the same thing for the line for the fashion fabric too. And then I'll take the skirt. This is the front part. I'm going to just notch the center of this skirt here. I'll notch the center like this, and also do the same thing for the lining. Then I'll do the same thing for the upper part, the lining, and then the fashion fabric, the main fabric. After that, I'm going to take the skirt part, open it up to the right side like so. Then I'll take the Ankara for the upper part, the half length, and I will match up that midpoint that we notched, and I'm going to join it on the waist area. Do the same thing for the lining too, to have something like this. I also went ahead to iron it just to give it that very neat finish. Next, I'm going to fold it like this. Just fold it like this, and then you can decide to go ahead and iron it on the center part now, but just know that you will need that center part later. But what I'm going to do with this folding now is to take that plain fabric that we want to use for that details on the front part. I'm going to take the plain fabric like this and spread it. It's not on fold, okay? And you're going to place your front piece like this. You go ahead and place it on it like this. You can do this either on the right side or on the wrong side. Then what I'm going to do is to just trace out what I have here on the hem area and then on this center part here, just to make sure I have the same thing I have on the dress on this plain fabric here. Okay. Next, I'm going to measure the length that I want for this, the height of this, and I'm marking 2.5, following the same curve I just marked here on the fabric. I'm following that same line or curve, and I'm marking 2.5. Okay, when you get to this point, make sure that you're following the same shape that you have there, so that it won't give you a hard time while you are joining it to the fabric or while you're doing the details on the front area. And for this, to make your life very easy, you're going to use a stretchy fabric The one on the thumbnail, they actually used velvet material, and with velvet material or stretchy fabric, you don't have to go through all this stress. You just have to cut your fabric straight, and then it's just going to blend in when you get to the curve area because it's stretchy, right? But this is what I have, and this is what I'm making use of. So I marked 2.5 as the height, and you see the cutting now is about 3 inches because I also cut away half inch on this other part that we marked, just so that by the time I'm done folding it on both sides, I will have 2 inches left. Then after that, I'll place it on the plain fabric again and then trace out what I have here. Now you can see that the part that was on the down part before is now on the upper part. That way you don't have to waste your fabric. And then you can see that it's not equal now. Don't worry about that. Did I say don't worry? Depending on the height of the person you're working with, or the length of the dress, determines how long is going to be, this strip is going to be. But what I have here is just enough for what I'm working with. And right after cutting, this is what I have. At this point, you can decide to go ahead and interface this with any interface of choice, a stay, paper stay, or whatever you want to use. But one sure thing is that you're going to fold it on both sides. Whether you decide to interface it or not, just go ahead and fold it on both sides with your hot iron, so that by the end of the day, you should have 2 inches or 2.5. Okay, there's no guideline to the height that you use depending on the person you're working with. So this is what it looks like after interfacing and folding it on both sides. You can see that the shape actually came out so well. And I forgot to mention that while cutting this strip, make sure you're cutting it in a way that you don't have to cut the same thing 2 times. Cut the one that be going for one side 2 times. After cutting the first one, you're going to place it right side to right side on your fabric and cut the second one, so that you cut it left and right. Hope you understand. So this is the lining that I said I'll be using for the colored part of the strip. I'm going to just cut out 1.5 like this, 1.5 strip like this, and I interface this with a stay. So by the time you fold the 1.5, it's going to be 0.75. And if you want to make it more pronounced, you're going to use this cord, also known as shambala in this part of the world. So you're going to put it inside the strip that you cut out like so, just to make it more pronounced. But I'm not going for that. Okay, in case you want, just go ahead and use that. But in all you do, please do not use this bias. It's going to give you a hard time. I used it for the first time I made this style, and let's just leave it at that. But don't use that, please. Instead of that, create your own bias. If you can actually cut the strip on bias, it would be better. So like I said before, you will need to get the midpoint of this front part. I went ahead to fold it, making sure it's equal on both sides, on the sides, and then I ironed it out. Okay, then what I'm going to do is to just mark half inch on this hem part here. Remember, we cut out half inch on the lining. You're going to mark that half inch on your fabric like so, following the same curve you have on the hem. Next, I'm going to come to this upper part like this, and then you're going to take one of the strip. Make sure you're taking the one that is going to the side that you want to do first. If it's the right or the left, then you're going to place it like this. But I'll start from the down, just so I maintain the curve I have on the hem. You're going to place this under your half inch. Make sure you're following the same curve you have on this same part, and that you're also placing it on the center, that center part that you ironed out. This center part here, you're going to place it just not in a way that it covers it, because you still have the other strip to also make sure it gets to that center part. Okay, you're going to pin it down, then you're going to measure it to the up and make sure it's straight and not that the fabric is not folding in any way. Okay, then you're going to take one of the strip like this, fold it, and then you're going to put it inside the black strip like that, and then you're going to stitch. Make sure this yellow one now is exactly on that center part. Then you're going to stitch it to have something like this. Stitch very close to the tip of the black one and not on the yellow one, right? That way you're stitching the two together. And there on this curved area, you can see that we have a little bit of excess just because this fabric is not stretchy, but don't worry about that. You will, you will take care of it later. Next, I'm going to take the second part of the strip and then I'm just going to repeat the same thing. You're going to place it like this and then you're going to take the yellow strip. Again, measure from the down to the up. You're going to start placing this from the down to the up just to make sure that um, you're following the same curve you have at the hem. So just like we did for the other part, you're going to arrange it properly like this. Make sure you're placing it on that ½ inch. Both the black and the yellow strip is going to be on that ½ inch. Then you're going to stitch it, making sure that whatever you have on the other part after stitching is what you have on this part too. Can you see? So I went ahead to do this other part. After doing the center part, the other part is just straightforward. Now I'll go ahead and do this remaining part. I'm going to take a strip like this and then I'm going to just repeat the same thing I have on this other part. Like I said before, if you can cut this strip on bias, it's best that way, but regardless, I will work with what I have. So I'm going to place it like this. Make sure that the what you have on this part now is what you already have on this other part, so that one will not be bigger than the other. It's going to look just as cute as mine. Can you see that? I'll trim out this excess now, then we're going to turn the down part with lining. And to do that proper, I'm going to get the midpoint of the neckline like this, which I already have there. Then I'll take the yoke, also have the midpoint there. So after turning the neckline and top stitching on this other side, you're going to get the midpoint, trim off all the excess that you have there, and then you match up the center of the yoke and then the neckline like this. Okay, you can see that it's actually equal on both sides. So to make it very easy for me, I'm going to join this with the lining too. So I'll hold the lining and then the yoke like this. Then I'm going to start stitching it, joining it from one tip of the neckline to the other end. But if that would be hard for you, go ahead and do it separately. After joining the yoke, you now turn it with your lining. But after doing that, this is what I have. Next I'm going to do is to just go ahead and flip the lining in a way that is going to be right side facing right side like this. Then I'm going to turn the down part. While you are doing the down part, be careful so you don't stitch on that yellow strip. While you're stitching, make sure you're taking up that yellow strip. If it's easier for you to join it from the lining part, go ahead and do it. If it's easier for you to do it on the main fabric like this, go ahead and do it. But make sure you're stitching on that ½ inch that you marked earlier. And right after turning it, this is what I have. Can you see that? It actually came out so nice. And the very right thing to do is to just go ahead and give it a good press, but I don't have the means of that at the moment. I'll do that later. So this is what I have. You should do it in a way that you don't have the Ankara showing at all. It should just be that yellow strip showing at the hem part. Now this part, why after ironing, is going to be okay on this part, because right now the Ankara is showing, but after ironing it, it will be okay. But if after ironing and it's still showing, you can use gum to hold it down there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to take the back piece, which I already turned and fixed the zipper. The back is just basic. There's nothing serious about the back. No yoke, no dart, no nothing. I just turned it. The center part, the center back, the down part, and I fixed the zipper. Later on, I'll be pressing open the seam on the center back. Now I'm going to turn the shoulder. I'll hold the front and back like this. Then I'm going to turn it the very way you turn your shoulder. So I'm going to hold the main fabric and then the front part like that. Then I'll flip the lining just like that. It's very simple. And after turning, you should have something like this. Can you see that? Now the next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and take care of the side. I want to do a French finishing or French seam for this side. You can decide to turn it the normal way you turn the center back, but I'll be doing this. So I'm going to hold the two like this, making sure that the right side is facing me and the right side of the back is facing the table like this. Then I will match up the waistline and then go ahead and stitch it with about half inch or 0.25 all the way from up to the down to have something like this. Then after stitching, I'm going to trim off the excess I have on that part, trim it very thinly to just very close to your stitches from up, from down like this to the up. Do the same thing for the other side. Then you're going to turn it to the wrong side. So turn it to the wrong side like this, and then I'm going to just hold the side together with pin. Just hold it together with pin and then do the measurement. So anytime you want to do your measurement on a bustier, make sure it's well cupped like this. Then you're going to take your measurement. Measure your bust circumference divided by 2 and then measure what you have left and share it on both sides. Do the same thing for the waist part. Just basically do your final measurement. After you're done with the measurement, you're going to go ahead and stitch it on that same part that you marked as your measurement. Then you're going to keep this aside because you're basically done with the gown and work on the sleeves. Now for the sleeves, I'm going to fold this fabric. Just cut out a basic sleeve, but there will be some modifications because of the style of the sleeve. So I'll fold the fabric into two like this. Then I'm going to get the length, and I want to use 19 inches both for hemming allowance and all of that. I have 19 inches here. I'll mark it here just to have a straight line and connect it like so. Next, I'm going to come down by 4.5 because of the person I'm working with. Then on that 4.5, I'm going to mark the bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5, then plus your desired allowance on that point. That way it will go around your armhole. Then whatever I have on that point, I'm going to do it on the hem and add extra 2 inches depending on how wide you want the sleeves to be. If you want it wider, you can increase it. If you don't even want it wide at all, just do the same thing you have on that bicep part. Now come up here by 2 inches or 2.5 depending on what you want. Then you're going to give it the same sweeter shape that you give to the hem of the dress, or just give it a round shape like what I have here. Anyone you choose to do is just fine. Then I'll use this one to trace out for the second one, and after tracing the second one out, I'll go ahead and cut the lining for it and then turn it with the lining. Then I'll show you the next thing to do. So after turning with the lining, this is what I have. Can you see that the lining is shorter by half inch, and that's why you see it draw the fabric up like that. Now I'm going to take the strip for this, then I'm going to just place it like this. Okay, it should be on the tip of the hem, on the hem like that, and then you should make sure that the midpoint of the sleeve, it gets to that point. Then for the armhole part, you can decide if you want it to get to the armhole part or about 1 inch or 2 inches down from the armhole. Then you take the yellow strip. Just watch what I'm doing. You do not even need much explanation. I'm going to take the yellow strip like this and then place it on the hem in a way that the Ankara will not be showing. Okay, then you're going to just stitch it down, just the same thing we did for the front part of the dress. It's very simple, just the cutting that is different from the regular sleeves, right? So after doing that one, I'll trim it off like this. Then because I'm using the remaining one for the other side, then I'm going to place this one like this. Okay, measure what you have on the other side of the armhole, and then you're going to place it like this. Make sure that the sleeve is not showing at all, the Ankara is not showing at all on the hem. And then you take the strip, the yellow strip, place it under the black one, and then you're going to stitch it. Make sure that the measurement you have on the one you already did is the same one with this. So after doing that, this is what I have. I'm going to trim out this excess here, and then you're going to close it the same way you close your sleeves. It's very simple. You can decide to do French seam if you want, French finishing, the one we did for the dress if you want, but I won't be doing that. Then for the armhole part, make sure you stitch it with your that allowance that you added, extra allowance that you added, except you want to pleat it on the shoulder part. Aside that, just go ahead and close it from the armhole part with your measurements, and then ½ inch down from your measurement of the armhole, and then you slant it ½ inch down. And after that, you're going to fix it on your dress, and your dress is ready. So this will be the end of our tutorial today. Let me know if you found this helpful, and I'll see you on my next one. Be good. Bye.